next topic to talk about, but it's a great point and definitely relevant to the conversation.
Yeah, like similarly, I've also had microaggressions. I'll be at Pleasanton. This was a few years ago, and I was with some friends also from the band, and I had a group of just random people coming up to us, and they would ask everybody like how they got into it, and then they'd look me up and down and be like, well, how did you get into this? And I'm just like, well, the high school I went to, like it's some way we all got into this for some reason. It's like that. And also, like, as a person of color who's Black, like going to Scotland for the first time was kind of a weird thing for me, because I I I've had incidences within the first like 3 days of being in Glasgow. Like the first thing that happened to me was I was walking down, just walking around Glasgow and with some friends, and past this group of men who were, just hanging out of like by a pickup truck. And as soon as I passed them, somebody said, "Faux show, Negro," and I was like, "Oh, wait, hold on," because you don't say that. You don't say that to anyone. And I almost kind of like laughed, like a nervous chuckle in disbelief of like, did somebody actually just say that? And I turned around and like looked at my friends, and they were all uncomfortable too. And I was like, yeah, that really happened. Like first day in Glasgow, like we've got a week and a half left, of being there. And so, yeah, another incident where it was like I was at a bar and somebody like licked their finger and like put it in my hair. And I was like, this is getting a little too weird. And then, coming back from Piping Live, walking back from Buchanan Street with one of my other friends, I'm like, we are walking down the street. I'd already had two things happen. And I was like, we're in kilts, people of color. I was like, I knew something was going to happen. And I hate that I have to be mentally prepared for that. But I knew something was going to happen, almost just waiting for it. And of course, like in no time, somebody was leaning out of the side of their car, driving past us, and was like, you can't be wearing that, like in our uniforms. And it was like, we're like, what? Who was saying this? And the person leans out of the car and he's like, you're African. And I'm like, don't tell me who I am. You don't know me. You don't know why I'm wearing this uniform. You don't, just things like that. Which that was like the last incident that happened in Glasgow. And very fortunately, I'm like, overall, the trip was a great experience. But some things like that where it's like, I didn't feel safe, walking around by myself. So yeah, like I am a little nervous if we, when we go to Glasgow again, like, is something going to happen? Because now I personally am like, I am taking hormones to transition, and in some sort of medium state. It's like, if I go there, is that going to be a safe place, or is it going to be a worse time for me, and how are people going to react or something when they see me? So it's just another thing to think about.
Yeah, I mean, I think Laureano and Lay, like, really kind of diving into this next topic, like we're kind of perfectly bridging the gap here into intersectionality. So like, obviously we're talking about LGBTQ plus experiences. We're in Pride Month. That's, the point of this panel discussion. But another facet of that is the idea of intersectionality. And for those who aren't familiar, it's basically the layering of identities and how that layering creates different experiences regarding discrimination and privilege and structures of power. So, for instance, like, it's like we're LGBTQ plus and also people of color, or we're LGBTQ plus and a female, or, it's like any combination of all of those layerings, like, give us a different perspective on the world, and also like put us in a position where we're sometimes, being impacted in many ways. Like it's a multifaceted experience. So, to Laureano's comment about what happened in Oban and in Canada and Lay in Glasgow, it's like I've had experiences where I get to a gig and like I'm sure Laureano, I think we've shared stories of this as well, where it's like I show up to the door, ring the doorbell, the person answers the door, and they just like look up and down 3 times, and I'm like, "Hey," um, and they're like, "Oh, so." I'm like, I'm here to play the bagpipes, like, and it's like this thing of this hesitation, like, okay, well, all right, well, come on in, and then you come in and you do your thing, and then like it's I remember at one party that happened, and then there was guests at the party who came up to me and were like, before I played, they're like, so can you actually play that thing? And I'm like, yes, I can. That's why I'm standing here. I'm not just a statue. Like I'm gonna play some music for y'all. So, um, yeah, I mean, I know Rebecca, we chatted earlier about like the experience of being a woman and also being LGBTQ plus. Like in your experience, like how has that been?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely had that exact experience where you show up at a gig. I mean, obviously my name is pretty obvious that I'm a female, but you still get, "Oh, you can play those?" Like, yes, I can. And like, once I got a little bit older and you're playing at events where, people are drinking and you get that, big burly guy come up to you and make that same comment. I'm like, yeah, I can. Here, you give it a go. And then they almost pass out, right? And it's just like, yeah, quite capable. Thank you. It doesn't matter if I'm this tall or if I'm this gender or whatnot. I think the thing that I've run across a lot is the being a female and being a piper. I've gotten a lot of like sexualized comments about that. From a young age, what I would deem now, like looking back, extremely inappropriate. I didn't know what to do with it at the time, being young, but getting questions about what do I wear under my kilt. Like when I walk down the street, people aren't asking me what I'm wearing under my pants. It's not appropriate, and it's not appropriate for anyone. It doesn't matter if you're a female or not. It's not. Let's move on. It's a kilt. It doesn't matter. And so I've run into that a lot, and then when I got older, and you get flirted with and whatnot, and I'm not interested, and you try to do the things where all you hit all your points of what to do to tell for me like a guy that I'm not interested. And eventually I started to try to use the like, no, I have a girlfriend, I'm taken. And the minute they find out, not all the time, but a lot of the time, the minute they find out that I'm lesbian, then well, now I'm getting rude comments about converting me. Well, I can convert you. Like, nah, I'm good. Don't want need to be converted, not interested. It shouldn't be like that. It's extremely inappropriate. And you know I don't think that, I think more could be done in the pipe band world too, for inappropriate comments being made to members of the band. Like for me, it like I mentioned my parents were in the band, so if they were around me, I usually was a bit more protected, but I would play usually after an event, I would be thrown up front, being a young 12, whatever, 14-year-old kid. Oh, go play a couple of jigs and impress the crowd. Okay, great, do that. Run up to the bar to go get a Coke because I've, just played for 7 minutes straight. And I still was getting inappropriate comments, and to a point, I had to start bringing people with me because I wasn't feeling safe, and I wasn't appreciating anything that was being said to me. But I think that people in the band, I think, probably should have, nipped that a lot more in the butt. And I think it still happens. It still happens to me now. I'm older and I can fend for myself a bit better, but not everyone can, and we shouldn't have to. And we should have our team behind us to be like, hey, no, this isn't okay, for anyone to be acting like that and making inappropriate comments, and have our back when maybe we're not feeling confident enough to stand up for ourselves.
Yeah, that's going to our next topic, which is kind of, to me, the most important part of this conversation. Is we've talked about all the experiences we've had. We've talked about like the challenges we faced, and those are really valid. But I think the most important crux of this, and of course of Pride Month, is like what's next, and how do we take action, and what do we do as people within this community that we all know and love, and that is a huge part of ourselves and our identity, and how we spend our free time and a lot of money. We all know it's expensive to travel and play this instrument. You know, what can we do, and also like what can others do in the community to make it a more safe and inclusive space for folks, so that, again, like Rebecca, to your point, like this shouldn't be, it should just be a baseline understanding that like certain things are like completely inappropriate, and that's, it's just a not okay thing. So, you know, I think allyship and is to me one of the biggest things that's going to affect change in a big way, is, you know, us kind of standing our ground as part of these communities, whether it's I'm a female, or I'm LGBTQ plus, or I'm a person of color, or all of the above. Like, you know, you can fit into all those categories in this intersectionality description here. But you know, the people that are not that, the people outside of that community who are true allies, are the people who are going to be standing up for those people. And those are the folks that bridge the gap between, like, you know, the people who have to deal with this stuff and the people who don't. And like, I think that's where the understanding is created and the learning happens. You know, I'm always a big thing. My new thing is like, being wrong is like, okay, like we should all be 100% comfortable being wrong. It is not, it's an ego thing to be like, get defensive about it. It's okay, I've been wrong, I'm still learning about a lot. Like, I've learned so much from Lay about like gender identity and like, you know, the trans experience, like in just the last 2 years. And it's like, I'm super grateful to like have somebody to teach me that, and to tell me like, you know, it's wrong, like do it this way and you'll be better. And I'm like, that's awesome. Like, I am wrong. And I thank you for like making me better, so that I can then, you know, proliferate something that is productive for everyone. And like, that's going to be progressive for people to feel safer and like more accepted.
Yeah, definitely. Like my trans experience is not the same as everybody else's. Everybody has a different experience. And I think, you know, in order to have an inclusive space, when somebody comes out to you, it's like they're trusting you to be a safe person that they can talk to. It's a very vulnerable moment. It's scary. There's like, you know, at a lot of times there can be a lot of buildup just to get to a point where it's like, I feel comfortable telling you, here we go, you know. That, and like actually actively listening to people's stories. And, you know, it's one thing to say you're supportive, like you can say you're supportive, but be supportive, use that person's pronouns, like just actually, you know, be there for them. Don't say I'm here and then not use the correct pronouns, or, you know, just make rude comments or anything, especially like behind people's backs. You know, if somebody comes out to you and they tell you that they've had a change in pronouns or a different name, like practice that with everybody else around you, like even if they're not there in front of you. That's the only way like that will happen. But yeah, like there are times where it's like, yeah, like I said, like I've gone to places where it's like I don't feel, you know, incredibly safe. And like Rebecca said, it's like we go as a group, you know, and it's like it's like another family. You need to be supportive of that family and make sure that if something does happen outside or like within the band, you need to tell people or correct people within the band. Don't be afraid to like correct each other, help each other out within the band. Because when you go outside into like a different space or a different state, that person wants to know that like they'll have your back if something racist happens, something sexist happens, if you don't feel uncomfortable. Like they need to know that you're there for them and actually there for them and will act if you know needed. And they may not even say something sometimes, you know, you just need to be aware of the situation and aware of things that are happening around you. It's the only way we can create a more inclusive space.
I think, you know, I think leadership is a really, really important part of allyship. You know, in our pipe bands, I think we have a lot of respect for our leaders, our pipe majors, our drum sergeants. That's kind of just how I feel like pipe bands operate, right? It's important that those leaders are being good examples. For the SFU organization, it's massive. You know, we have beginner 6-year-olds all the way up to pros. So, you know, we survive on young people. And, you know, young people nowadays are like they probably know way more than I do about identities and the LGBTQ plus community. And we need to make sure that we're showing them, hey, this group, you're welcome here. You can come here. You can feel safe here. You know, we support you just like we support, you know, everyone else. But then on the flip side, we also want to make sure that those people who are in our bands and our organizations who are homophobic, who are outwardly homophobic or transphobic or racist or sexist, you know, we need to make sure that the message is coming across that that's not okay. You can't be like that in this setting. You know, not, you know, how you perceive things is how you do, but here in this group, that's not going to be accepted, and we're not going to be bringing people down for who they are and how they identify. At the end of the day, we're here to be a group and play. I think Trevor, you said this, like, or maybe Leigh, sorry, you might have said it, like, we're in sync. We have to be in sync. That is like what the foundation of a competitive, usually competitive band is. We have to all be on the same page. If we're not supporting each other, you're going to have people with the early starts or pushing the beat. You know, we need to be there for each other to say, hey, you know, I heard this, I'm here to support you. You know, you jumped the beat here. It's the same thing, you know, oh, this is a safe place. You can talk to me about your partner or any struggles you're having, or just, you know, feel free to be you. It's okay. But I really do think that comes from has to start from the top. If they're not supporting us, then, you know, what do we have and what examples are we setting for the younger generations that are coming in and trying to figure out who they are, and might have to come out 4 times because it might take some time. We have to make sure they know that's okay. If you've changed your pronouns, that's okay. Might take me a quick minute to catch on, but I'm going to do everything in my power to get there. And I think, Trevor, you said, you know, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay. I do it all the time. And I'm so grateful when people correct me and educate me, because I don't know everything. And my, you know, group of friends, you know, I don't have a lot of diversity in my like gay group of friends. So, you know, I need to be educated, and that's okay. You just have to be open to it and accepting to be like, oh, you know, that comment you made, you know, that's not actually super appropriate. This is something better that you could say next time. And an easy beginner step is, instead of saying to people, oh, do you have a boyfriend? Do you have a girlfriend? You just say, do you have a partner? Partner is such an acceptable term that is okay, and it's open. And if someone says to me, oh, hey, do you have a partner? I'm like, oh, you're an open-minded person. Cool. Yeah, I do. You know, her name is, you know, whatever. That's just a beginning easy step for us, you know?
Yeah, I love the parallel that you drew between like being in, like Leigh, you saying being in sync and music, and then like Rebecca saying like, yes, being in sync, but also on the support end. I thought it's like, you know, Leigh, it's so important. You said like the band, the point is to be in sync, and Rebecca, you made this like beautiful analogy to like being in sync also in the support end. Like we have to kind of be on the same page in more ways than one in order to be successful. And I think that there's something to be said about that. Like I think that that does create a more tight-knit group that is, you know, doing everything in unison. You know, I think the point you made about accountability is important, like holding your friends accountable, holding your bandmates accountable, holding people outside the communities like accountable. You know, that is sometimes uncomfortable to do, but like those are the things that are really going to help people change. And like, you know, people generally want to be better, like generally want to be better people and nicer people and more accepting and inclusive. So it's like if we can help people one at a time, like it is just going to cumulatively like increase the overall group of people in a band, or people in the pipe band community, or people in the entire world. Like it happens one at a time sometimes, where you just have to have these smaller conversations of like, hey, that wasn't cool, or that, you know, like actually the right term is this, or you know, the comment you made, you know, wasn't right. So, you know, I think that that's true. And I think also so valid about the leadership. You know, this is one of the reasons you know, City of Angels pipe band was such a, you know, the building block of that was that this idea of like if you say those things are expected from the get-go and it's part of the DNA of the organization, then like not only does it welcome people in from those communities, but it also makes people that are outside of those communities coming in to know like this is what the expectation is for treating people this way. So it's a twofold thing that happens, you're right, at a leadership level. And I think you know leaders do have that responsibility to say those things. I think words mean a lot, and what a pipe major or a drum sergeant or the people, the leadership of the band says, like it does have a big impact on the culture that you create in that band, and the things that are acceptable and not acceptable. So yeah. Laureano, did you have a thought? I got a
I do have a
vibe.
thought.
Okay.
So another thing that I think a lot of leadership people do sometimes, or just people in the band in general, it's this goes for both. I don't see color. I don't see color. I think that goes along with people talking about someone's racial identity, also what they identify as, in that sense as well. By just saying like you don't care, I don't see that, I don't like whatever. That's you're denying that you recognize it entirely. You're saying that you acknowledge it, but by saying that you're not respecting it, which then could lead to you just disrespecting or disrespecting me by not using my proper pronouns or making jokes behind me or even in front of me without kind of any real care to it. And again, how do we keep LGBTQ plus people engaged in it? It's by, again, calling that type of stuff out if you do see it happen, because someone else in the band might see it, someone who's not come out with it before. I kind of always just think like someone, this could be helping somebody, even if it's just one person that's like another person. And it's it's just a small little thing, a person in a band, but you have every single band has at least one, and that's quite a few. And then how to recruit from the community effectively. Well, which is strange, as you guys saw from Pleasanton, we kind of just happen to group together and sometimes not even realize it. So something just kind of look around and go like, oh, what can we do here to expand this, what we have? How do we make this more into the world of the community? And like you guys said, like Pride, what a great way to just a direct way to it is playing in the Pride parades. I so badly want to do that. Yeah, it's kind of just being out there and being vocally accepting and like, we are an ally part of it. We accept you. I recognize you. You have to be just outwardly with it, just to get it out there so people know. And there's expectations, again, like you said, that come with a band that says these kind of things.
Yeah, thank you for that. I going off the Pride thing, and just to kind of wrap us up here in a way, when I suggested that we play in the LA Pride Parade in Pasadena, it was it was for the purpose of having fun. Like that was what the goal was. It was like, I go to Pride, I want to have fun. Let's like bridge the gap between what I do for fun and what I do for fun. Like it's like, like let's hang out with my friends, but also like, play in a parade. And we play in so many parades. Why don't we do it in Pride? It would be super fun to like, wear rainbow gear and also a kilt and play bagpipes. And, people were losing their minds over Green Hills Battles Over, which is one of the rarest things I've ever seen. And you'd never see that in a pipe band contest or at the Worlds, but like these people were having a great time listening to Green Hills Battles Over rolling down the street there. But I think one thing that really stuck out to me was a player that, because when we played in Pasadena and Pride Parade, we'd invite other bands in the area to also come along and play with us, and to make the band bigger, and just to include people that may want to kind of have that experience. Is someone came up to me and said, I never thought I would see a day where I would be able to play my bagpipes while at Pride and like be to say like I'm a gay person, like, and like that to me, like I was like, oh my gosh, like this thing started as just like a fun thing, but like this is what it's all about, is like creating that for somebody, like, and like it's not just one person, like you said, Laureano. So it's like that's that can be like expanded upon, and like that creates so much engagement. And like I know that that's why when I was leading Pasadena for so many years, like that's what kept the wheels turning, like in me, like was that like this organization is like willing to put the rainbow flag out there and like really be in Pride and like unabashed about like being on like network television and like a televised parade about this. Like like I'll bust my butt to like do what I need to do for the band. Like I'll stay up till whatever hour needs to be done to like make recordings, write music, like, you know, email people, like, you know, write up a concert program, like what are we gonna play, like all this stuff. Like it created so much fire in me to like push and push and push. Like I can only imagine like the spark that it can ignite in other people if they felt like completely able to just be themselves and that everybody saw them and celebrated them for who they were. Any closing comments before we wrap it up from everybody?
Yeah, just a quick comment about, I mean, finding that one thing that makes you like, whoa, when I saw City of Angels formed, I was like losing it. I was like, oh my God, this is so awesome. I have to be a part of this. So again, just things like that. I mean, that reached me all the way out in Cleveland, Ohio. And that's only one person, so at least. So, I mean, I just imagine that expands everywhere.
Yeah, 100% same. You know, I think it's so refreshing to see something that, like you said, Trevor, like the culture and the values are right there. There's no question about it. You know that if I joined a band that was forward like that and said, "Hey, this is what we are, this is how we are," you know, I would join it in a heartbeat if I could, because I don't think we always get to, you know, in our work lives, our personal lives, our piping drumming lives. I don't get to experience where I get to feel 100% me 100% of the time. You know, you're always kind of looking around, you're kind of, you know, feeling the room out. You're always doing that. And a pipe band like that, where our values are being put right there, the culture is right there. This is what we accept. You know, we're not going to be accepting, you know, any negativity. You know, that is so valuable, and I think, and I hope that it picks up everywhere, because yeah, it's and I'm very envious.
We'll both have to come play at Pride next year because of COVID. But Leigh, any closing remarks?
No, I'm glad to, you know, be a part of this panel. This is great conversation. And I, like, if you would have told me like this was going to be happening, you know, a few years ago, I'd be like, what? You know, just kind of in shock of like, this is a conversation that is happening within the community now. So it's great to see that change, and, you know, seeing so many positive reactions to the new pipe band being formed. You know, I just, it's overwhelming, and I'm so glad there's so much support behind it. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, once again, Laureano, Leilani, Rebecca, thank you so much for being here, for sharing your stories. I know they're vulnerable stories, and for, you know, really just like having the conversation that I think has been waiting to be had. And also a huge thank you to Pipes Drums for providing us with the platform, you know, that reaches so many to have this conversation and to hopefully shed some light and start some conversations within other bands and other associations and maybe even other countries about this, you know, what's going on and how to kind of keep the progressive development of like LGBTQ plus experiences within pipe bands in a positive direction. All right, we'll see you all at the next beer tent, games, Pride, all the above. Bye.